What's an actual psychological cheat code you use in social situations that works almost every time? Story 1. It's not exactly a cheat code, but try this when you're hanging out with your usual group and someone from the circle isn't there. Talk positively about them. For example, if you're at dinner and John couldn't make it, say something like, "Man, John's really getting good at guitar." People naturally notice how others speak about those who aren't present. If you build up absent friends, you plant the idea that you're someone who supports others, even when they're not around. But if you take little digs, like joking about John's stupid mustache behind his back, you might get a laugh, but you're also showing everyone that you could just as easily talk about them the same way. Positive talk builds trust. Negative talk breaks it. Story 2. Being at ease with silence is a real advantage, especially in negotiations, arguments, or when someone's asking for something. When you stay quiet, people often get uncomfortable and start filling the silence themselves, revealing more than they meant to. Police use this tactic during interrogations. If a suspect gives a weak answer, they simply stare and wait. That quiet pressure often pushes the person to speak again, adding details they didn't plan to share. Silence, used right, is incredibly powerful. Story 3. My personal hack turned into a hobby. I make a point to notice people doing their jobs well, and actually tell them so. If someone's doing great work, I compliment them, let their boss know, and sometimes even contact corporate to share it. You'd be shocked how much it means to the worker, how much it surprises their boss, and how long people remember it. When I come back later, am treated better, and others with me notice it too. On the flip side, when I see someone treat service workers poorly, my respect for them drops instantly. I'm definitely not alone in feeling that way. Story 4. Here's a ridiculously simple one that works every time. When someone compliments you, don't brush it off or instantly fire one back. Just pause, look them in the eye and say, "Wow, thank you, I really appreciate that." It breaks the usual awkward back and forth of "no, you," and makes the moment genuine. It shows confidence because you're comfortable accepting praise, and it also makes the other person feel great, like their words actually mattered. Such a small change, but it turns a routine moment into a real connection. Story 5. This one's tiny but surprisingly useful. When someone repeats a story you've already heard, most people respond with, "You've told me this already," which can sound dismissive. Instead, say, "I remember you mentioned this before." It's a small shift, but it changes everything. It shows you were actually listening the first time, while gently reminding them they've shared it already. One version shuts the person down. The other makes them feel heard and valued. Story 6. In emergencies, humans have an ancient instinct that actually makes them less likely to act when more people are around. Back in hunter-gatherer times, blending in kept us safe today. It just makes crowds freeze. It's not that people are uncaring. It's a deeply wired survival response that's hard to override. Luckily, there's a simple fix. Point to one specific person and give them a clear instruction. Once someone has a defined role, the hesitation breaks, and the rest of the group usually follows. I've had to use this once, and it worked perfectly. Story 7. When someone feels stuck, moody, anxious, or just can't shake a bad day, hit them with something absurd. If my kids come home upset after school, I'll ask, "Want food? Water? Or should I send a genetically engineered giant capybara to destroy the school?" The ridiculousness snaps their brain out of the loop for a moment. It doesn't instantly fix everything, but it helps them loosen up and start moving toward a better mood. Story 8. When my social battery runs low, I step back. Being somewhere you don't want to be doesn't help anyone. I've learned to pace my social life so I can actually enjoy it and give people my best energy. Respecting my quiet recovery time helps both me and the people I care about. Sometimes I still show up even when I'm drained for commitments or people who matter to me, but I try to avoid overextending. It just takes longer to recharge after pushing past my limits. Story 9. If you're a manager or asking anyone for help, you'll get better results by saying, "I know you're busy, but can you do X for me?" That one line does 3 things. First, it shows respect you're acknowledging their workload and that what you're asking is an inconvenience. You can emphasize it by adding, "I can only trust you with this." Second, it signals importance if you're asking, despite their busyness, this must matter more than their current tasks. Third, it gives choice. Phrasing it as a question lets them say no, which makes their yes feel like a personal decision rather than an order. It's subtle psychology and many good leaders use it instinctively. Story 10. When your inner critic starts tearing you down, mock it. Give that voice a silly accent, a bad Cockney one, or maybe an overdramatic French tone and make fun of how ridiculous it sounds. Sometimes I even write out all the awful thoughts my brain throws at me, then do a dramatic reading of them, exaggerating every word. I call that voice depression, and turning it into a joke helps me take away its power. It's weirdly fun, and for someone like me, a bit theatrical, but it turns darkness into something I can laugh at. Story 11. Be ridiculously kind to customer service reps. Ask how their day's going, calmly explain your issue, and check if they're the right person to handle it. Make sure they know you understand it's not their fault, and genuinely thank them for their help. That old saying, "You catch more flies with honey than vinegar," couldn't be truer. When you treat reps with respect and warmth, most will go above and beyond to fix your problem. Story 12. As a Brit living in Berlin, I've found that channeling 90s Hugh Grant works wonders. No matter the situation, German bureaucracy, work, doctors, whatever I turn on, the polite, self-effacing, slightly bumbling Hugh Grant energy. Lots of sorry, oh dear, and shy smiles. For context, I look nothing like him. I'm 190 centimeters, heavily tattooed, bald, and bearded. But somehow, that mix of awkward charm perfectly fits what Germans expect from the British. At my doctor's office, one nurse, who could easily be my mum, hugs me and pats my arm whenever I get blood drawn. I'm a middle-aged diabetic. It's routine, but she can't help it. To my German friends, I've found your weakness, and am never giving it up. Story 13. If you feel like you're about to cry but really can't afford to, start doing hard math problems in your head fast. The trick is to choose problems that are challenging enough to require real focus but still solvable. Your brain has to switch gears from emotional to logical, cutting off the crying response. It's surprisingly effective when you need to hold it together a bit longer. Just make sure to let those feelings out later. Constantly pushing them away isn't healthy in the long run. Story 14. Counting sheep never helped me sleep, probably an ADHD thing. My mind just wanders. Instead, I daydream with my eyes closed. I picture something fun or comforting like a favorite place or an imaginary story and stick with that one theme. Within minutes, I'm out cold. It even works when I'm not that tired or trying to nap on a couch or plane. My fiance doesn't have ADHD and it works for her too, so it might just be a better version of the sheep trick. Story 15. I started noting every little thing that makes me happy, even slightly. My cat purring, perfect sleeping weather, a funny joke, a cool rainbow reflection on the floor, a good shower, seeing a cute dog. I pair that with daily gratitude. I'm thankful for good food, for birds because they look amazing in flight, for my cat's tower because she loves it, for that free McDonald's pie that hit the spot. It sounds small, but it's changed how I see the world. Tiny joys add up fast. Story 16. When someone lashes out at you, especially if their anger isn't really about you, go overboard with apologies. Be sincerely, almost ridiculously apologetic. It usually makes them realize they're overreacting, and they often end up apologizing to you instead. If someone's gatekeeping information and refuses to help, stop asking. Pretend you already know the answer and confidently say the wrong thing. Most people can't resist correcting others. They'll give you the real answer just to prove you wrong. Story 17. Whenever an argument starts heating up, I pull a Caesar Milan distraction. You know how the dog whisperer uses a sudden noise or touch to snap a dog out of aggression? I do that with people. When my boyfriend and his brother start arguing through gritted teeth, I'll suddenly trip, drop something, or gasp and say, "Oh no, what was that?" They immediately stop arguing to check what's wrong, and by the time I say, "Oh, nothing," the tension's broken. It even works when my ADHD boyfriend is talking nonstop. A random dramatic distraction resets his focus like magic. Story 18. Here is a little conversational trick I've used for decades. When I'm talking to someone and think of something I want to say later but don't want to interrupt or forget, I lightly hook a finger on a surface, like my leg or the table, and mentally link the thought to that gesture. It's like setting a mental bookmark. Then I can fully focus on listening, and when the moment's right, that finger reminder brings the thought back instantly. It works about 90 of the time and keeps conversations flowing smoothly. No more. Damn, what was I gonna say? Moments. Story 19. I'm naturally shy, so at social events I tend to hang back. But here's a trick that's helped a ton. When I'm standing quietly and scanning the room, I make it a game to notice one nice thing about everyone: cool jacket, nice smile, great shoes. Doing that subtly changes my body language. I look more open and friendly without even realizing it. People often end up approaching me first, and when they do, I already have the perfect icebreaker. "Hi, I love your shoes." Story 20. Stop expecting people to act differently than they always have. I used to get frustrated with certain friends for being selfish or inconsiderate, but one day I accepted that it's just part of who they are. Once I stopped holding them to an impossible standard, I stopped getting annoyed. Weirdly enough, that shift made me like them more. I could finally see the good parts of them instead of fixating on what bothered me. It made me a better friend and a much calmer person. Story 21. My personal goal is simple: learn people's names and act genuinely happy to see them. At work, there are a few people I don't interact with much, especially the maintenance crew. I made a point to introduce myself, remember their names, even though I'm terrible at it, and now we always wave or say hello when we pass each other. It's such a small thing, but those quick, friendly greetings brighten both our days and instantly lift my mood. Story 22. Whenever something big is happening at work and someone asks, "Hey, have you heard about insert topic?" my answer is always no, even if I already have. Why? Because when you say no, people explain what they know, how they see it, and sometimes share details you never would have heard otherwise. I've done this for years, and it's an incredibly effective way to gather new perspectives and information. Story 23. If you want to make a great impression, whether you're trying to make a friend or attract someone, focus on making them feel interesting, not on proving that you are. Most people love to talk about themselves. When you show genuine curiosity, ask questions, and listen like they're fascinating, they'll walk away associating that good feeling with you. It's one of the easiest and most powerful social cheat codes there is. Story 24. When you're struggling to connect with someone, talk about food. It's universal. Everyone eats, everyone has opinions, and almost everyone has a story about a favorite meal, a weird dish they tried, or a restaurant they love. I've turned dull conversations into lively, funny, hour-long chats just by asking questions like, "What's the best thing you've ever cooked?" or "Where's your favorite place to eat?" Food is the ultimate conversation starter. Story 25. The way you frame something can completely change how people respond to it. When I managed a team, my boss wanted me to address employees who were clocking in late. Instead of saying too many people are late, I reframed it to last week, 92 of our team was on time, let's aim for 95 next week. That positive phrasing worked far better. It's the same in debates or discussions. Saying most people care about helping others is far more persuasive than some people just don't care. People naturally want to be part of the majority doing the right thing. Story 26. If you like someone, just tell them. I learned in a psych class that openly expressing attraction can actually trigger the other person to think about you in a romantic way. I tested it once, told a girl I fancied her. She was in a relationship at the time and didn't really see me that way at first, but because I said it out loud, her brain was forced to imagine what it might be like to be with me. A short time later, she broke up with her boyfriend, showed up at my door, and told me what she'd done. It didn't end in a fairy tale romance, but I've tried it since, and it works far better than playing games or overthinking whether they'll like you back. Story 27. When you apologize, stop after I'm sorry. Most people feel the urge to explain or justify their actions. I'm sorry, but it's not really my fault, or I'm sorry, but you should have known, which only invites an argument. A real apology doesn't need a defense. Just say you're sorry and mean it. Then stop talking. You'll avoid turning remorse into debate, and the other person is more likely to actually forgive you. Story 28. If someone's being rude to a customer service worker in public, I call them out. It's amazing how fast that stops them. Most jerks assume the employee won't push back because they're on the clock. But when another bystander calls them out, they suddenly realize people are watching and judging their behavior. I've flat out called people stupid for being unnecessarily cruel to staff, and the look of shock on their faces is priceless. It's like it finally hits them. You can't just treat people terribly in public and expect no one to say anything. Story 29. When someone's furious, I look them in the eyes and calmly ask, what do you actually want to happen right now? That simple question forces them to stop yelling and think. Even if their answer is just screw off, they've shifted from blind anger to conscious thought, and that's a win. On a related note, you'll be amazed how often you can get what you want just by asking. Want a discount? Ask. Want a favor? Ask. Think someone's cute? Ask if they're single. People miss out on opportunities all the time because they're too afraid to ask, but you can't receive what you never request. Story 30. I compliment everyone all the time. The key is being genuine. I can guarantee any person you look at has a piece of jewelry you think is pretty, or their hair looks nice, or they have a pretty bow or bag or something interesting. I do this to waitresses, clients, and even complete strangers on the street constantly. It makes people's day. If someone tells me my hair looks cute, I love it. Why wouldn't I make someone that happy just because I'm worried about looking awkward? Worst case scenario, people move on. More often than not, it results in better treatment and making someone smile for like 2 hours. Best case scenario, you get to know a lot about somebody and learn interesting things. I complimented a client's ring once and found out he's a jewelry maker from Lebanon who learned through an apprenticeship and practices older methods of jewelry making not commonly used. Once I complimented a woman's quilted coat, and turns out she inherited a bunch of quilting materials she didn't know how to use. She found out I quilt and work with the local guild. Next time I saw her, she gave me over $1,000 worth of fabric for me to use in quilts or donate to the guild as I saw fit. I genuinely don't even think about it now. Oh, your whatever is so cute comes out of my mouth before I even process it. The only time I feel awkward is when I'm like, oh, what a pretty ring. Oh, your earrings are so cute too. BC, I worry I'm doing too much, but I've never had a negative response to that. And they usually show me all their rings or pull necklaces from under their shirt, and we talk about the stones in them. It's also really fun to make people happy and makes my mood better too. Story 31, more customer service related, but if you have to disappoint someone by saying no or there's a delay, give them some info. Don't bury them in detail, just give them something so they don't feel completely bewildered and lost. For example, I was on a train once and on a tight schedule. We stopped for no reason a few minutes outside the station. I got unreasonably frustrated. Then the driver got on the speaker and said, "Sorry folks, I have a red light up here and I can't proceed until it clears. Well, be on our way as soon as we can." I was fine after that. It wasn't useful, actionable information, but it helped me not feel like I was just being held hostage for no reason at all. I've had the same on the other end of it too. Coworkers would say, "They can't do anything about it. We can't do anything about it. Why bother?" Those coworkers dealt with a lot more stress than I did. Story 32. If you are in a group and a joke is cracked, people would instinctively look at the person they feel closest to when laughing. When you join a group, the people who actually want you there will turn their toes towards you and properly face you to kind of include you in the conversation. Those who don't want you to join may just look at your "no feet involved," reply, and go back to talking. You can find your people in that group. To make someone like you in a new setting, ask them to help you with something small, and don't forget to thank them. Story 33. To get someone to elaborate on their attitude or behavior, make a statement. Instead of, "Are you mad at so-and-so?" use, "It seems like so-and-so made you uncomfortable." This elicits a response that typically provides more information because the person wants to clarify your statement. I learned it from the book Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. I'm sure I'm not getting it exactly right, but the general premise is the same. It works really well to help understand people and get them to open up. Story 34. I stutter. It was a paralyzing, "Hurry up, kid, I don't have all day." Bad stutter, and I was the butt of a lot of jokes. I took piano as a kid too, and I was decent at it because it was mostly keeping time and following a melody or rhythm. One day, I heard on the radio a familiar voice being interviewed and talking about his stuttering and how he overcame his speech impediment by reading poetry and practicing his speaking. The voice giving this valuable instruction was Darth Vader, or some guy who sounded like Darth Vader named James Earl Jones. Yeah. How was I supposed to know? I was a kid. He said it can be conquered, and his speech and voice got him success and work as an actor. I didn't do poetry, but I had some of those piano lessons in me, so I figured I'd give it a try, but my way. To this day, I voice my words in my head in a rhythmic sort of singing within a small range, and then speak while maintaining a deliberate and steady cadence at a lower volume. It took a while to get used to it, but worked, and I have since been able to speak without a stutter. I can do public speaking with a microphone, and only a few people remember I stuttered as a kid. My mother has referred her friends' daughters and sons to call me out of the blue when she hears in conversation that their grandkids have a stutter. So I tell the callers the story about James Earl Jones and how he worked through his poetry, and tell them to look up his interviews on YouTube, and my similar but different method. It is still there, and I can feel it at times when I forget to do my thing. The downside is even in the most excitable moments, I come across as aloof and detached to the action when I speak. Story 35. I learned a ton from my intro to counseling class as an undergrad. I'm no longer practicing, but a lot of the training you get for conducting talk therapy carries over extremely well into social situations. My favorite? Matching tone and pace. It's a natural thing humans usually do anyway when they're in familiar groups, but most people have a hard time feeling comfortable when they're around strangers or acquaintances they don't know well. So essentially, match the energy of the people or person you want to connect with in that moment. Another one that carries over well from counselor education is non-self-disclosure. Obviously, this wouldn't be fully applicable in social setting, like it would be in a professional client-therapist relationship. Don't withhold information about yourself. But generally speaking, if you want people to like you and be the cool guy at the party, don't force them to be interested in your life. Be genuinely interested in theirs. Let similarities or slight differences be your conversational common ground and build your own rapport from there. Side note, people sometimes get weird in social settings when they find out you're a psychologist and make a very original and lighthearted quip to diffuse the tension. Oh wow, so you're totally analyzing everyone here and what they're saying.